Research scholars have a special place in my heart. So if you are a PhD student, then watch this video till the end. Hi, this is Atya here. Welcome to PhDpreneur, where we discuss PhD mindset and personal finance. A PhD can be quite challenging. There are several issues that PhD students face. The issue, or I can say one of the symptoms that PhD students often experience, at least that is what I've seen around me, is frustration. I myself have got frustrated at several points of time. I have seen my colleagues getting frustrated. I have seen basically research scholars getting more frustrated than others in their jobs. I was curious to know. I tried researching a lot of things about this. Today I will present to you my findings as to what contributes to this frustration. Is the problem, is system the problem, are we the problem, and if any of this is a problem, then what can we do about it to manage or at least be in a place that work does not get affected. So let's begin with today's video without further ado. Some of the research scholars struggle to finish PhDs. There is stress in the background. Sometimes there could be personal issues as well, anxiety, depression. All these factors also come into play. It is sometimes possible to question yourself, are you really happy? Is it normalized that PhD has to be miserable? I think we have normalized a lot of things in PhD which are usually not encouraged in any kind of corporate scenario or any scenario for that matter. You take a job, you take anything. If you are very happy with your PhD and in a very good space, then you might want to skip this video, because this video is directed to those students who need some help or who need some validation as to the problems exist. Because sometimes in PhD, whenever any problem is discussed, we tend to invalidate those problems. Here I have done my background research for this particular video, and I will take this opportunity to share my findings with you. A survey was conducted by Nature. So if you don't know Nature, then I don't know what you know, because Nature is a peer-reviewed journal with a high impact factor. Study was conducted with respect to mental health of research scholars, with respect to whether research scholars are happy or no, the problem. So what is the basic cause of frustration as such? I'm going to link this study in the resources section in case you want to have a look. For now, let's look at some of the major highlights of this questionnaire. How satisfied are you with your decision to pursue your PhD? This was the question asked. This was one of the questions that was asked to the respondents. Around 38% said they are very satisfied with their decision. Around 37% said they are somewhat satisfied, and rest of them were borderline or not satisfied. Then the second question that was asked majorly was, now since you have started your PhD, your satisfaction level has increased, decreased or remained the same. A whopping 45% said that their happiness levels and everything has reduced. Around 42% have said, almost equal, said that their satisfaction has increased, and the rest remain neutral. So what does this basically see? Today I want to share my thoughts with this 45% of students who are dissatisfied with their research. When it comes to PhD, there are several problems, but the main problems are isolation. Even if you are working in the same lab, even if you are very good friends with each other, each one's PhD topic is different. So there is isolation involved, there is stress involved, and sometimes it also leads to depression. Second problem is conflict with supervisor. Here the problem is that this system lacks accountability. So there is a PhD supervisor basically has no hierarchy, and that is usually taken advantage of, especially when it comes to supervisor-student relationship. This does not happen every single time, but majorly I've seen this happening. Then the third issue is money. Now the funding that is received by the student, whether they get it on their own or supervisor has some project and they enroll for it. It is usually seen that it is insufficient. 1/3 of your salary will go for rent, and if there are any conferences or anything that you have to attend, then sometimes it may not be sufficient. The funding that is received may not be sufficient to have all of this. So these are the 3 typical problems. Now I'll tell you what is the core issue of this. Between these 3 problems, which is the core issue? Whiteboard is my best friend, so I'm going to explain it over here. So as I mentioned, there are 3 problems. One is isolation, conflict with supervisor, third is money. All these things are a part of a major, that is system. Whether it is isolation, whether it is conflict with supervisor, if the supervisor is not very supportive, or if it is a money issue. With respect to PhD, this comes under system. The problem over here is, as research scholars or as PhD students, as human beings, okay, we tend to seek validation for our efforts. Validation means when, say, suppose the experiment is not going well, so somebody will come and criticize, but then does the person offer constructive feedback or praise when your experiment goes on well? So when you don't get that, you tend to get frustrated. So what happens over here is, when you are in the state of frustration because of any of these reasons, you tend to seek validation from all these 3 things with respect to your PhD, but that is part of the system. The system is designed as of now in such a way that it will not give you validation. You are getting what I am trying to say? So that we have established. Let's move on to the second part. There are 2 ways which you can use. One is change the system. That is one way. You change the system, you make everything favorable, then you will not get frustrated. So when the people are opening up about their PhD journeys, obviously it is contributing to the change in the system. Okay, whenever a person speaks about their PhD journey, or there is any kind of law or rule passed, it is changing the PhD system, but it will take time consuming, and you cannot be relying on this for your happiness. This is out of the question. As of now, it will happen at its own pace, but as of now, with respect to your mental health and your frustration, this is out of the system. Okay. The second way is, as of now, since you are frustrated, as I have mentioned before, you are solely focused on getting validation or getting happiness from the 3 sources that I had mentioned earlier. But it is not possible, that we have established. So now what you do is, you get something else in its place to the level of your PhD, which will give you that happiness. For example, if I draw this graph and say, suppose whether the level of percentage frustration, I hope my handwriting is clear. Say suppose the percentage frustration or percentage of happiness is this much, and this comes from your PhD. Now your job is to get out of the mindset that you are, get something in its place on the level of this, and I will tell you what this is: alternative. So I hope these things are clear. We are trying to divert the mind in a healthy manner to something else, because what happens if you get stuck to something, whether you are not getting this, you are not getting this, you are not getting this, then if you get stuck to that, you will go into depression. So the best possible way, the best alternative that can help in this time is to get an alternative source which you get to the level of your PhD. How we can go about this? Now, what is that alternative source of happiness? First is relationships. And let me explain, when I speak of relationship, it could be your family relationship, it could be your parents, your siblings, your cousins, your friends, it could be your significant other, it could be your spouse. Get this relationship to work for you, support them, and in turn they will support you. This is one way of looking at it. But there is a problem with this. Whenever it comes to relationship, it is always involved with people. You are there, somebody else is there. The person who may be very close to you may not always understand your problems or may not always be in a position to support you. They have their own problems, they have their own mindset and the journey through which they have come. So it is not necessary that you can depend on relationships or people 100% of the time to get the validation that I was speaking earlier. This always may not be relied upon. So we are cancelling this. Second is start a side hustle. This is something that I want you to start. Now, why start a side hustle? What does side hustle mean? Side hustle means working on something that will give you an alternate source of income, as well as it will give you that validation. Once you start generating income, automatically that validation will come only. Secondly, this will be totally under your control and totally under your input. That means how much of output is produced will be directly proportional to how much input you do. Now that is not the case with PhDs. You may do the experiment 100 times, but you may get the result only one time, or even after trying the experiment 100 times, you may not get the result. So that is completely different. So this side hustle you can start. There are two ways you can start your side hustle. One is offline, one is online. Okay, which one do you choose? For offline, you will need a little bit of investment or a space or anything. Online, you can go for digital marketing. It won't require money. It won't require much of resources. Anything you type on YouTube, you will get. Okay, so I suggest at this stage, start an online one, and then if you want, you can gradually move to offline. But start with this. Start with this. You can go for digital marketing, or you can go for starting a YouTube channel, starting an ebook, starting an Instagram page. This could be some of the starting options. I have done a detailed video on the side hustles you can start, the previous video of this, so you can go and check it out. It has online as well as offline option, whichever works for you, as well as there are several resources on the YouTube. There are courses, books available. If you want me to review the courses that I have taken with respect to this particular topic, then you can ask the question in the comment box. I will be more than happy to do a video for you. Do not wait, okay? You start. If you have a critical supervisor who gives negative feedback all the time, then I highly recommend you try this. Your mental health will improve, and the way you operate and the way you see yourself also will change. Don't worry, we will come out of this stronger, and in the end it will be all worth it.